and welcome to More Than Mindfulness. I'm Becky Moeller from Lifehouse Fit Body and Soul. And today we are going to be talking about establishing new habits and new ways of being in the world. And I'm going to refer today to an awesome dude named BJ Fogg, who wrote a book called Tiny Habits. And he's done podcasts and TED Talks. You can find him out on Google. So I encourage you to go find him. But I learned about him really recently, actually, and recognized that his method from Tiny Habits is actually really the foundation of why we do the things we do here at Lifehouse Body and Soul, and kind of the way our practice has intuitively kind of shaped itself and come about. So BJ Fogg talks about how when you set goals in your life, or you know you want to move in a direction, instead of setting these big goals that feel overwhelming and take up all sorts of time and most often fall by the wayside because we can't sustain it, that the best way to form a new habit is by creating a tiny habit. And he refers to that as a floor habit. So for just a moment, maybe see if you can picture yourself on a not great day for you. So your motivation is low, your energy is low. Picture what that looks like in your life, okay? So I want you to think of something that you could do even on that day that would help you find your center and feel your spiritual center. Because at Lifehouse Fit Body and Soul, that's really what we're all about. And everything we do is about that. Finding and feeling in our bodies, in our souls, in a tangible way that actually can change our life because we feel it. What it feels like to feel a divine connection, not only to God or the universe, but to our true souls, our true selves, the part of us that is eternal and that represents the highest and best that is within us. And that's something that we can feel. So I want you to think of something that you could do on a floor day, okay? And then also think of something you could do on a ceiling day. So if we start to think about, okay, what are floor habits that we could try to create that will help us to find and feel that spiritual center, that spiritual part of us that so easily gets washed out in the busyness of life. And here's just a few suggestions for you. One is a breath, something you're doing anyway, right? Breath is one of the most powerful connectors to the spiritual dimension of our lives. And it's available to each one of us every moment of every day. So learning to use that breath in a conscious way, it's like putting the brakes on the treadmill of life, and with one breath, and I want you to just do it with me right now, okay? Taking a pause, maybe closing the eyes, feeling into the body. So just for a moment with this breath, I want you to see if you can feel the body from the inside out. Like, can you feel the life energy that lives in the body? Can you feel a warmth or tingling in the body, in the center of the body, maybe in the fingertips or toes? And then using a breath, inhale, to feel the belly expand, feel the ribs expand, feel that warmth and aliveness, and exhale, feel the energy leave the body, and open your eyes. How long does that take? 5 seconds, 10 seconds? Okay, learning how to use that breath as a floor practice to bring you back into, oh yeah, I am a human being going through a mortal existence. There is a bigger picture. There is a greater purpose. Oh yeah. The traffic isn't so stressful. Maybe it's not so important if I'm 2 minutes late to that appointment. Oh yeah. So we're using that breath, okay? And then the other part of the Tiny Habits method from BJ Fogg is anchoring. So we want to find things that we do every day, and we want to anchor that tiny habit And the example I gave you was the breath. You could do something else too. You could do anything that helps you find your spiritual center. Maybe it's a mantra. Maybe it's putting your hand on your heart. Maybe it's that conscious breath. Okay, something very, very small that even on your worst day you could do. And then we're going to anchor that practice to something you do every day, like a non-negotiable. So for me, I've heard this called different things as well. I've heard it called pairing, and this is called anchoring. I feel like the truth is out there in a million different ways and places and voices and filters, but it has like that essential thread. So this is one of those types of things. This has been called lots of different things. One of the ways I practice this is when I'm driving in my car alone, usually. I can do it with my kids in the car too. It's harder because there's more distractions, right? But driving my car is something I do almost every day. So when I get in my car, I get in my driver's seat and I put my hands on the wheel and I practice feeling the texture of the steering wheel in my hands. And then that physical awareness and anchor helps me then connect into my breath. And then I'm driving and I'm practicing breathing. I'm practicing noticing the sunlight on my face. I'm practicing noticing what the mountains look like against the light of the sky. And suddenly I'm very present. Suddenly I've shifted out of this treadmill, compulsive thinking mind, and I'm strengthening my present moment mind. And a lot of this kind of stuff really is a practice of retraining our neural pathways, retraining the way our brain is functioning in the world. And I'll tell you, in the modern world we live in, for most of us, the path of least resistance is always going to be thinking, until thinking becomes a compulsive disease. That's kind of how Eckhart Tolle will talk about thinking sometimes. Thinking has its place, yes. But when we can't stop thinking, then it becomes harmful. So your practice is homework, and it is to start to explore what are some of these floor practices, tiny, tiny habits from BJ Fogg that I can start to anchor into my life around the things that I'm doing on a daily basis that will bring me back into the present moment, that will bring me back into the spiritual dimension, that will reconnect me to a higher plane of consciousness than just what is the errand list today and what are we having for dinner and who needs to be where and what's my 401k doing, okay? We want to transcend that. We want to live and start to experience life in a different way, in a different plane. So other good pairing places or anchor places can be every time I walk through a door, I repeat a mantra. Every night before bed, when I get into bed, the first thing I will do is open a scripture or open a book and read something that will uplift me and open my mind. You know, little teeny things. Okay, that is my practice for you today. Learning from science and neuroscience and recognizing that when we can anchor small, consistent habits into the way we move through life, we can actually start to shift the pathways in our brain to help us live more from our present-centered network and less from our default network of ego, fear, never-ending treadmill. There is a higher way to move through life, and it takes practice, and it takes awareness, and it takes intention. But every single one of us has the tools and capacity to find that within us. It is coming home to our highest self. Thanks for practicing with me today. Namaste. If you'd like help establishing the kind of habits and practices that will help you really transform the way you're moving through life to a place where there's more presence and peace and richness and beauty on a daily basis, we have some wonderful free resources available to you. Click on the link below and check out our free downloads, 4 weeks of mindful living.